It is now May, which means April is over and I get to talk about the movies that I watched. So there were six movies that I watched in April in theaters, and some of them were new, and I'll admit now some of them were not so new. So number one, we're gonna start with number six. Number six is the Super Mario Brothers movie. I'm a Chris Pratt fan, and I wanted this to be, okay, I'll say I wanted to enjoy it, because there's a difference between the movie being good and between me enjoying it. I wanted to enjoy the movie. And it hit all the right nostalgia beats. I just didn't find anything that stood out. And I'm not really one to be bothered by the Illumination formula, lowbrow humor, insane use of licensed music, things like that. I found the use of licensed music in the Mario movie to be generic, cliche, and uninspired, and things that you would find in so many other movies before. I mean, you find it here, a Aha song, the Aha song, I guess, is randomly thrown in there. I at least didn't pick up on why it was there. I mean, you got a particular AC/DC song that is about being struck by thunder, and it's used in the most obvious way, and again, just uninspired and generic. So, unfortunately, Mario was not my favorite. Number five, Ghosted. This is a new movie by Apple TV Plus, and I was pleasantly surprised. Apple seems to be picking up a few things. My wife and I went to Spirited in December, right before Christmas, and we really enjoyed that. I think it didn't get as much love as it should have. We really enjoyed going to the theater to watch that. And again, we were pleasantly surprised that, Apple not typically putting out a lot of products for streaming or, movies or shows that are really big named, big names, I guess. They're not really appealing to a broad audience. I would say Ghosted and Spirited are maybe the first ones that really a lot of people would be interested in watching. And yeah, Ghosted gets a lot of hate. I've heard a lot that it's pretty generic and just not very clever, and it just follows a lot of particular cliches. And quite honestly, I didn't find that. I thought there were a lot of actually fun twists on certain cliches. So maybe to each their own, but that's just what I found. We had a lot of fun with it. We thought it was hilarious, and there were some cameos in there. There was just a string of cameos within about 5 minutes that just had us on the floor. We loved it, and we really enjoyed finding just the fun in the movie. And so Chris Evans and Ana de Armas are the main leads of this movie, and this is actually their third adventure together in film after Knives Out in 2019 and The Gray Man last year. So they already have a built rapport and chemistry with each other, which is very helpful. They were great together. I would say my main complaint about Ghosted is that Scarlett Johansson was actually supposed to play the main heroine named Sadie. And unfortunately, while watching the movie, I could tell that she was supposed to be the original lead. That was just in my mind the whole time, and I could pretty clearly see the role of Sadie was kind of written for her, or at the very least, why she was chosen. You could just see a lot of Scarlett in the role. So it just became kind of obvious while watching the movie that that role was originally for ScarJo. So ultimately, Ghosted was fun. It's worth a watch. I think it depends on your personal tastes, whether or not you like it, but I would recommend. And number 4 is Air. This is the newest movie by Ben Affleck, and it's the story of the Michael Jordan and Nike collaboration in the mid-'80s. And this is at a time when Nike was very vulnerable in the basketball region. And so they put all their chips in a way. They went all in on Michael Jordan as their player, their star player to represent the Nike brand in basketball. And spoiler alert, it worked. And so it was a very fun journey to watch. I love behind the scenes stories, and I love basketball. So this was almost a perfect movie for me, because biopics are something of a new thing in the last handful of years, and it's really a great way to know the story behind the icon. We all know the icon of Michael Jordan. This was something that really not a lot of people knew about. So I think it was a fun story to tell. Now, as far as biopics starring Matt Damon go, I will have to say that I prefer Ford versus Ferrari. I just find it to be more rewatchable and just a little bit more of a fun movie. Air is very informational, but I think Ford versus Ferrari is just more fun and a more engaging movie, honestly. So, the Air is still worth a watch, and it actually just dropped on Amazon Prime Video. So, if you want to check that out, it's like I said, it's worth a watch. So maybe not with the family though. In third place is the fantastic, the incredible, the amazing Spider-Man: No Way Home. This is a very special movie for me. I started this channel after the movie came out in theaters, so I really haven't actually gotten to talk about it. So I'll just give a few words here. As one of the few people who actually like Spider-Man: Far From Home, I was very excited to see how they were going to resolve the end of that movie. There was a cliffhanger that was anything beyond Avengers: Infinity War. Okay, that's not true. But anything could happen. And we were really worried for Spider-Man. And that doesn't rarely happen, that we're worried for one of our heroes. And superheroes, I mean. They put Spider-Man in a position that was really tough, to where, what does he choose? Does he choose what's easy, or does he choose what's right? How does he operate in a world where everyone knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man? So really a fascinating beginning of the movie. What I really respect what the filmmakers tried to do. They really tried to make a compelling story, and not just lazily write, filler until we get the Spider-Mans all together. Because that could have been really easy, was for Kevin Feige to just come onto the screen at the beginning of the movie and say, you know what, we tried, we couldn't figure it out. Ladies and gentlemen, the Spider-Man! But they didn't. They really tried to tell a good story, and I admire that. So, a job well done, I say. It's a fun movie. Perfect? No. But what movie is? Third place out of 6, that's not bad. Let's keep moving on to our number 2 spot. This one hurts a little bit. But number 2 is Top Gun: Maverick. I have watched this movie so many times in theaters that it could probably almost just take up all 6 of these spots. But I'm not going to do that. So, Top Gun: Maverick is really an incredible movie. One of the best movies of 2022, and I speak objectively. It was one of the best. It made so much money that they just keep bringing it back, which I find hilarious. Unfortunately, as great as it is, I just didn't have a great experience in the theater this last time that I watched it. I will actually tell a brief fun story about why I watched it in theaters. Is Regal Entertainment actually put on a ScreenX Day event where they hosted 4 movies throughout a whole day. It was The Batman, the Batman, the new one, Bohemian Rhapsody, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Top Gun Maverick. And they knew that Top Gun Maverick was going to be so successful. It was the only movie the entire day that they showed twice. And when I tried to get tickets to the later showing, it was full. So I couldn't go, I couldn't bring a friend, nothing. I had to go at 8:30 in the morning. And it was worth it. The ScreenX format is really kind of a fascinating idea. It's 270 degrees of screen. It's where they essentially project onto the walls as well as the front main screen. And so you see what you would normally see on a screen, and then you get a little more. So in the example of Top Gun Maverick, you see more of the airplane. You know, on the sides, you see the wings. And as an airplane nut, I find that kind of stuff so cool. You get to see more of the airplane, more of the sky, the environment, everything. And so that was a lot of fun. Like I said, unfortunately, just a bad theater experience. You know, I missed the entire finale, which is one of my favorite parts. I still got to watch the opening dogfight sequence. So, number 2, Top Gun Maverick. It deserves number 1, but it just wasn't in the cards this time. And that brings us to number 1, Return of the Jedi. Episode 6 of the Star Wars saga. And this is one of the more dissed Star Wars movies. I was so excited when they announced this. I got tickets immediately. I love Star Wars. I grew up on Star Wars, especially these first 3 original movies. So I said, I gotta go, because I hadn't watched it in theaters before. I mean, when would I have gotten the opportunity, you know? So I actually got to go to the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back. And that is another one of my favorite movies. And it's a great Star Wars movie. And that was actually in a year where the world was kind of falling apart in some ways. And 2020, you know, I didn't think I needed to say, but I figured I would. 2020, I got to go to the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back when movie theaters were struggling and trying to make any buck they could. And so they started re-releasing old movies, and then they released Empire Strikes Back for its 40th anniversary. And I absolutely loved it. Now I got to go to the next movie, Return of the Jedi. It is an incredible story about family, and not in the obvious Fast and Furious way. I mean, it shows how you can help your family and truly see the good in others. And I find that very admirable in Luke Skywalker. That's why he's one of my favorite fictional characters. And I still find it to be one of the best finales in a movie series of all time. Hands down. So there we go. That is my list and my ranking of all 6 movies that I watched in theaters in April. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time.